Hi everyone, I'm Anthony from imaging.anthonyantonio.com. Today I've got a question from Carl Taylor and he asks, I'm thinking about getting into film developing and printing. I'd like some advice about buying a film camera and also setting up a wet darkroom. Okay, fantastic question. There's nothing as exciting as a traditional wet darkroom. To be honest, once you've been digital for quite a long time, if you were to try to switch back to film only, you would find it a bit of a step backwards, having been used to the speed and the flexibility of digital. But as something additional, the wet darkroom film, it is pure art, because when you actually develop and print your own image, that is art. That is a one-off. It cannot be repeated. It is something that comes from your hand. You haven't stated with regards to the camera whether you're thinking about 35mm or possibly going up to medium format, or even large format. To be honest, even in this day and age, nothing can come close to the large format. That it has a look and a quality that it can't be replicated, not yet. So as far as the camera goes, let's just say if you're going for 35mm, there's so many available out there, so cheap. But think about in terms of a system. For example, myself, I still have my Nikon F3 that I've had for many years. So my Nikon lenses, excluding the gelded versions that do not have an aperture control on them, they can switch from my film camera to my digital camera without a problem, same fitting. Same can't be said for Canon, who actually switched from the FD mount to the EOS mount when they went autofocus. So yes, you can get a fantastic value Canon film camera, the Nikon, the Canon F1, the AE1, the A1, which was actually a fantastic camera in its time, and the FD lens is a good value, but you'd be buying them for use in their own right. They wouldn't fit on any newer cameras, apart from perhaps a Sony a6000 with a flange adapter. Contacts were fantastic. However, the lenses for contacts were some of the best out there because they're Carl Zeiss, and actually they're still sought after, so they're very expensive. Whereas if you were to go for a Nikon, you can use so many different Nikon lenses and they're available for next to nothing. Personally, if you really want the back to basics feel, you could go for a Nikon FM, FM2, or even an F3. F3, it was a legend and still is. It has the feel of a professional workhorse. It's fantastic. I love mine. I'd never get rid of it. So in terms of cameras, think in terms of the lenses, not just the camera, because there'll be no point you getting a good value camera and then paying over the odds for the lenses that you can't use anywhere else. Okay, moving on. Okay, if you're thinking, just quickly, if you're thinking about the possibility of medium format, there's some fantastic value Mamiya 6x7s out there. They are the best of the medium format, depending on what you're going to do. If you want to go out in the field, then you need to be thinking in terms of a 6x6. The Mamiya C330, that was a wedding photographer's favourite back in the 70s and 80s. Hasselblad, of course, it is the Rolls Royce of medium format cameras, but again, it's 6x6. It still doesn't compare to the giant of negatives that you will get from a Mamiya 6x7, and they're available for fantastic money, but they are far too heavy to be lugging out and about. If you're going into large format, then there's 5x4, 7x5, 8x10. There are lots available online on eBay and on Amazon. They're not that much money. The beauty of large format is if you could go for, if you found a good value 8x10 large format camera, and they are enormous. I mean, they are this big. It's one massive box on a monorail. But for studio work, the beauty of an 8x10 is you can actually shoot onto either standard paper and then scan it and invert it online. But if you actually want to go for a finished product, you can shoot onto reversal paper, so that you can develop in trays and you can actually get a finished image from that without the need for an enlarger. So each image is a creation in itself. That's very, very, very creative and very artistic. So it's worth a thought. Moving on to the developing side. Okay, so setting up a darkroom. If you look online on eBay, Amazon, you can find enlargers for quite a good price. So what I would say is most of the best value ones, or the cheapest ones, are actually color, because nobody really wants to be developing and printing color anymore. Not in a home darkroom. Most people want black and white, and if you're going to go for black and white, you want a multi-grade head, because most of the paper available now is multi-grade, so that you can have one set of paper, you can change the calibration on the enlarger, and you can take the same paper from grade 0, which is very, very low contrast, up to grade 5, which is very high contrast. So you will pay a little bit more for a multi-grade head, but it will pay you dividends. But even so, they're still not excessive. I would obviously, just as you would put a good lens on your camera, you need to put a good lens on your enlarger, something like a Nikon 50mm EL 2.8. For developing, it's very, very simple procedure. Online, £10-20, you can get a developing tank. They have a spool, and in a changing bag, you literally take the film, wind it onto the spool, close it in the tank, then you can turn the lights on. You do need a thermometer, you mix up the chemicals, all of that's available online. There's no point me going over the technical stuff and regurgitating instructions that are available tenfold on YouTube, but that's a very simple procedure. It's literally develop a stop, fix at the right temperature, a rinse. There's a hose that you can plug in from your tap that can force wash the film. Then I would always recommend you use something as a final rinse. As a final rinse, I'd recommend you use distilled water and a drop of final rinse, which will help reduce the staining on the film. Remember that you need clips. One of them should be weighted, so that when you hang the film to dry, the clip at the bottom is weighted to hold the film so that it dries straight. Perhaps a squeegee, but be very careful with a squeegee, because it can scratch the film. Once you've got your film developed and you've got your negatives, it's simply a case of your choice of enlarger, developing trays, safe light. You do need a focus assist. There are second-hand ones available. There's a Patterson, there's a micro focus assist, and there's a full-size one, and you can actually focus on the grain of the film and get it perfectly in focus. And that's about it, really. You don't need a great deal. All the rest of the tools that you might use for dodging and burning, I used to make them myself with a bit of coat hanger and a bit of cutout card for dodging, or a cutout card with a hole for burning. There's so much that you can do. People don't go and buy all these things. You make them all yourself. You don't even need a test strip printer, to be honest. It's handy to just drop, 5, 10, 20, 40 seconds, but you can do that with a piece of black card and just move it. Again, even with a timer, so if you find an enlarger timer at the right price, they are very handy, because you can just simply set it and it will turn off by itself. You don't have to worry about anything. But again, I would reiterate, do not buy a colour enlarger to use for black and white, because black and white, dedicated black and white enlargers actually have a condenser and the image contrast is higher. So I wouldn't really use a colour head for black and white. Use either a black and white head, and then you can buy the actual filters that go in a drawer for multi-grade, or the best of all is a multi-grade head. Then you can dial in the different grades direct to the head, and you can get it exactly how you want. It is fantastic. It can never be beaten. It's not the same as clicking print on on a PC and printing to a photo printer. It is not the same. This really is hands-on art. So good luck. Let me know how you get on. Any suggestions, put them in the comments below, and any questions, message me and I will try and address them in future videos. Thank you very much. Don't forget, check out my site, imaging.anthonyantonio.com.